Hi guys. Do you remember that first day of class when first we talked about what we did over the weekend and I mentioned that I went to a pumpkin patch? Well, here's my pumpkin. This little guy right there. I got it because it's kind of light colored and cute shape. And then further in that class, we started talking about different concepts of math that were easy for us and hard for us. And I let you put a sticker on the blackboard, either a red X for something that was really hard or that you hadn't seen before, or a green check or smiley face on something that you understood and that was pretty easy. So one of the things that everybody had in common that was really foreign to them, really difficult for them, was putting points onto a graph and then connecting those points to make a straight line. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And by the end of this class today, you're going to feel really confident, and it's not going to be something that freaks you out when you see it, okay? All right, so you'll be given something like this sometimes. And it'll say, graph this line. And it doesn't look like a line, it just looks like a bunch of numbers. And so what we have to do is we have to take this information and put it onto a coordinate graph. And then we're going to make a line with this information. And you'll see what I mean in just a second. Okay, so this is a coordinate graph right here. So it's a grid, and you'll have one on the computer, online. You'll have it on paper sometimes. I'm using a little whiteboard today so I can show you. I'm going to make my own so that you understand why the X is called the X and the Y is the Y and what's negative and what's positive. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to label my coordinate graph. Okay, so I'm going to use blue, and I'm going to put it down for just a second. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put arrows on these lines right here that are going to go on forever. Lines go on forever. That's the definition of a line. So this is going to go on forever this way. It'll go on forever this way, and this way. And you don't have to put arrows in every single one, but this is just to indicate that we understand that a line goes on forever. Okay, so we have to know where the X and the Y come into play. So here we go. Remember algebra, 8th grade stuff, there's a lot of code in there, and there's a lot of numbers mixed in with, or letters mixed in with the numbers. So don't let it freak you out. It's way easier than you think. It's like a code, okay? So this side is X. So everything that goes this way, which is called horizontal, is X. And everything that goes up and down or vertical is Y. So this is how you label a coordinate graph. Okay, so the first thing that you want to do is label it like this. Now, our numbers are pretty small. They're not huge. They're not, 3-digit numbers, 2-digit numbers, anything like that. They're all single digits, even though some are negative. One of them is 0. That's okay. So in order to make this coordinate with this, we're just going to have every single little square as 1. So if I had huge numbers, I might write like 10, 20, 30, or 100, 200, 300. But in this case, I'm just going to write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then going this way, what do you think they're going to be? So that's 0. So I have my numbers going forward as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just single digits there, counting by ones. I'm not skip counting at all. And then below 0, same thing, except they're negative. -1, -2, -3, -4. You don't have to label all of them. That'll take you too long. Just label a couple so that we know that you're counting by ones. Same thing on the y-axis. Okay? So this is the x-axis. This is the y-axis. Okay? So here's 1, 2, 3, and so forth. And this is -1, -2, negative 3. So below 0 are negatives, just like in temperatures. You guys are all in Michigan, so you have a really good idea of negative temperatures, especially last year with the polar vortex. So just think of below 0 as negative temperatures. And in this case, there's just -1, -2, -3. Remember, we're counting by ones. And to keep these consistent, there's no reason to count by 2's here if you're counting by 1's here. So we'll keep those consistent. All right. Now, we have to put our points, these are points, on our graph. Now, in real life, these points, when you actually draw a point, they're not like a big circle, but we're going to draw them kind of big so you can see them. They're actually not even really, they don't really even have any width at all. We'll talk about that another time in geometry maybe. But okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take this first point right here. This is a point, and we're going to find out where we put it on our graph if the x is 2 and the y is 1. So we're looking to draw a point on our graph where x is 2 and y is 1. Okay? So you're going to have these xy charts, and you're going to have to put the xy charts onto your graph. And sometimes later on, we're going to learn how to fill in these xy charts with just a few answers given to you, or even the equation given to you. But for now, we're going to learn how to plot these points onto a graph. Okay, so we're looking for 2, 1. So the x is 2, the y is 1. Okay? So if you remember that, if you've ever played Battleship, or if you just remember this from when you were little and you were learning graphing, all we have to do is go 2 over, because x is over. It's either forward or backward. And then we have to go 1 up or down. So we're going to use the x's first because it's easier to keep it in your mind that you always do your x first. So we're going to go over 2 and up 1 because they're positive numbers. So 2 and 1. So here we go. We're going to go over 2 and up 1 and put a dot on our graph. So do you see how the x is 2 and the y is 1? Okay, got it? Okay, so 2, 1. That's all we have to do for that point. Now we're going to do the next one. Remember what we had here? Okay, we have 4, 3. So x is 4, y is 3. So we're going to go over 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and up 3. 1, 2, 3. So I went over 4, got it, okay, and up 3. Okay, so now we have 2 points. And at the end of our lesson, we're going to connect the dots. But we have 2 more points to plot before we're going to connect the dots. Okay, now these are a little bit different, these next ones. Okay, so we are done with this one, and we're done with this one. You actually don't have to do them in order. It doesn't matter. You can do them in any order you want, but to keep it, I don't know, to keep us consistent, to keep us in so that we're focused, we're going to do these in order today. Okay, so our x is 0, our y is -1 in this next one. So we're looking for 0 and -1. Okay, so go back to this, and you have to go back and forth. You know, with things sometimes in math, you have to take the information from something and put it onto something else, and that's fine. We can deal with that. So here we are at 0. We're not going to move to the right or the left at all because we're staying at 0 for our x, and we're going down 1. Okay, so see how I made that kind of a big dot so you could see it? It's green. Okay, it's kind of close to the 0. And I mean the 0 that I drew. Okay, now our last one here, let me put a check on that. So we did that one. And then our last one that we're going to do is -3 for the x and -3 for the y. Okay, So easy peasy. We got this now. Start at 0. Oh, I forgot to tell you that. That's a really good hint. So start at 0 when you're counting. I mean, I wrote in these numbers so you can find them easily, but you're not always going to have all these numbers written in. You might have something that's bigger, or you might only have a -2, -1 written in. So start here, which is our axis right here. Start right here. This is called the origin, and that's a good math word. So an origin means, in general, where something starts. So an origin is where something starts. So we start here, the origin, and then we're going to find, if you forgot, here it is, we're going to find -3 and -3, okay? So here, start at the origin, 1, 2, 3, okay, and then we have to go down 3 because they're both negative numbers. 1, 2, 3, okay? And there's our last point on our line that we need to connect. Now the last thing we do is we connect our dots. So see how when we connect these, they're going to make a straight line? You see that already? So you can use a ruler if you want. I have had students in the past that they're really particular about this and they want to use a ruler. You don't have to, because you can see where they're connecting. If it's not totally perfect, that's okay. So you see, my line is not totally perfect, but that's okay. I still know what you mean, and I can still tell that it's a straight line. Now remember what those arrows mean? Do you guys remember that? It means that it's going to go on forever and ever and ever and ever. Okay, so this is our line right here. The red part is the line. The green dots are the points that we were asked to plot on the graph. And that is how you take this kind of chart, an XY chart, and make a line graph. So this is a line graph. This is an XY chart. So if you ever see this, X and Y, I don't know what that means. Don't freak out. It just means find where the X and the Y meet, put a dot, connect your dots, and you have your line. One of the other things that's really important to remember is to label your X and your Y. Remember that X is over and Y is up and down, and you got it. And if you have any questions about it while you're doing your practice, let me know. I'll be there. I'll be there in your rooms. Okay, thanks guys.